Hello and welcome to today's video. So this time we'll be having a look through my latest vintage pickups. Now, this last month has been absolutely bananas with two really big Penguin collections coming my way. So it's meant that I haven't really had time to go looking for other stuff. However, a few bits have come my way. I've had some bits from a dealer catalogue, which is their final one, in fact. So we'll go through those, plus a few other bits and pieces that have come my way. And well, we'll get them all clean and we'll see what's what. So sit back, relax, and let's get to it. Okay then, so we'll start off with these two, and these were from a friend of mine over in the States, Kurt. And Kurt graciously knows of my love of this particular book, and I've got the British Boardman one, but I particularly like this American Popular Library cover here. It's by Earl Burgley, is by the look of it, and this is well, it's a beautiful copy of that one. Look at that. I'd say that's probably unread, and what a great jacket it is. Let's have a look at the printing history on this one. Look at that, 1950. What a lovely one. It's Popular Library ones. Of course, he published that beautiful edition of Day of the Triffids, and which is one of my favourites. So this is going to go alongside that one. But I've got the American one, and I've got the British Boardman one. Are there any other editions that I should be looking out for? Let me know. But that one is absolutely fine. I can't see a mark on that at all. I'd just give it the lightest of lightest brushes, but yeah, look at that. It's absolutely perfect, that. So I'm just going to pop it back in its bag for now to keep it nice and clean. But yeah, I've not gone crazy with what I've been buying this month because I just haven't had time. Or the last sort of 8 weeks, I've had so much coming my way with those big collections. I've really not had a chance to look for much. This is nice. So look at this, John Wyndham, and it's a Horwitz. Now, I think I've only got maybe one or two Horwitz books. And Kurt knows of my love of John Wyndham, and I do collect lots of different jackets on his books. And this is one, I don't think I'd ever even seen a picture of this one before, so this is really really good for me. And look at that. Look at this then. So this is Horwitz Publications in Melbourne. First published in Penguin. Well, Michael Joseph 55. That's the hardback. Penguin published it in 58 and reprinted in 59. It says this Horwitz edition is 1961. And published in association with Michael Joseph and Penguin Books, because Michael Joseph are part of Penguin. So there we are. So I guess that's the first Australian edition of that, and what a very, very beautiful copy that is, isn't it? Very, very nice indeed. Yeah. So Kurt, thank you very much for those. That bag I think I've destroyed while I've opened it, but thank you very, very much for those. Now, I've had one odd early folio society book come my way. I am picking these up in hardback, and I knew that this one was quite foxed, but I didn't mind too much because the only copy I've seen for sale in 6 months is one of the fairly early ones from the early 1950s. And the dust wrapper, apart from it being foxed, actually is better than most. There's no chips missing. It's not been price cut or anything like that, which is really nice. But the book was a bit foxed, so we're going to give it the brush there. It's not too bad, to be honest. Obviously, these early Folio Society books, they didn't come in the traditional slipcases. They were dust wrappered. And it's the dust wrapper era at the moment that really does sort of fascinate me with these. But it's okay, apart from that foxing bit. It's all right. This will do for me. It's not like it's a key book or anything like that. But they were out at 1953, so in the 7th year of the Society's existence, so quite an early one. And it was for the first 10 or so years the books came in dust wrappers. They are just beautifully set books, beautifully designed, and very, very easy to read on the eye. I've been reading a few recently, books which I sort of put off for a long time, and I've been really enjoying it. One I read recently was the folio edition of Sentimental Journey. That was better than I was expecting. So even though it's a really old book, it was actually, you can see why it's regarded as a bit of a classic. And the folio edition is absolutely lovely from 1948. So anyway, that's the one and only folio book today. Now, I have got a couple other bits and pieces. So this is, I had a few bits from Tim Graham, the vintage Penguin book dealer. Tim is hanging up his second-hand book dealer coat now. He's going to knock the catalogues on the head. You know, he is getting on a bit, and he wants to have a bit of time in his retirement to enjoy some other stuff. He's doing a lot for the Penguin Collectors Society at the moment. So for now, at least, the catalogues have come to an end after at least 20 years. I think the first one I got of him was number 2, and this was catalogue 36, 37, something like that. Tim he's very reasonable with his prices, but the way he does it is you send your order in and then it's names out of a hat. And the last couple of times I've been in the 60s before I've been drawn. This time around I was 10th, which was quite nice because I was able to get some quite rare books, all of which you're going to see today. So this is one of the things. So this is a bookmark for the second series of the King Penguins. So these were B format literary titles, and they are actually really beautiful. And I've only got maybe 10 so far, but I am on the lookout for them now because they're much better than I was thinking. They're just really nice, beautiful books. So early 80s, they came. This is 84, 85, but the second series of King Penguin I think started about 1981 and was around I think till about 86, something like that. So quite a nice one, and also I of course collect Penguin bookmarks. So that was really, really nice, that one. Next we've got a Penguin catalogue. This one I got off eBay, a Penguin book list for 20th century writing. So as you know, I love Penguin and Penguin related catalogues, order forms, memorabilia, that sort of stuff. It really complements a book collection. And this one, although not perfect condition, I'd not seen one for sale before, and I think it cost me about a tenner, which I wasn't too unhappy to pay, in all honesty. I think that was worth a tenner. It's the author's it's not dated, but looking at the titles, it's looking like about 67, 68, with sort of the design and stuff. Yeah, so like the Iris Murdoch's there, that a severed head, number 2003. It may even be slightly earlier. It may actually be more like mid 1960s, thinking about it. But very, very nice. Not a great deal to it, but it is one of the more unusual ones. I think it's a pretty much unique format, this one. I don't think I've got any others in this sort of size or shape. But yeah, very nice, that one. And I shall record that with my list of related memorabilia. This one also came from Tim's catalogue. That was from eBay. This was from Tim's. No, this was also from eBay, actually. This was one of the Alan Lane Christmas books, Boxwood Engraver, and I had a little eye on this for a while. And it's one of his privately printed books. And this one was particularly nice because it does come with a postcard from Alan Lane for Christmas greetings 58 and a Happy New Year 1959, which is really nice. I've got a few Alan Lane Christmas books in my collection, maybe about 7. I don't think I've got any of the most rarest ones, the really early ones, but this is a nice one that I didn't have. And it is, like all the Alan Lane Christmas books, exquisitely produced. Here's the little forward there. During the past 10 years, many of the books published as Penguins have been decorated on the covers and in the text with wood engravings by distinguished living artists. Because of the very large editions, we have never been able to print these from the original wood blocks, nor has it always been possible to full justice to the charm of these delicate creations on the cheap board and paper we have to use. With the intention of showing them at their best, we print on the following pages a selection of engravings from a score of books published since 1949. So these are they pulled from all different series. There's a list of the engravers there. And these were used on Penguin Classics and Penguin Poetry, the Penguin Illustrated Classics, just these little woodcuts there. So it's just a little box of woodcuts. The paper is very, very thick. There we are, Puffin Quartet of Poetry. It's a real nice bit, this, and it is a beautiful Alan Lane Christmas book. And I said, they don't turn up very often. Sometimes they're numbered, sometimes they're limited. So yeah, this one of 1,500 copies, printed for Christmas 1958, and supplied with a wood veneer for the cover. And the cover is actually, yeah, there we are, wood veneer. So that is Boxwood Engraver, one of the scarce Alan Lane Christmas books. You don't often come across those. However, I've got one more to show you today. So here is another real curiosity. It's in a beautiful mailing envelope, and it's obviously come from Penguin Books Limited. Now you can see it's addressed to Mrs. Boyd, 28 Ripponvale Grove, London N1. And that's it. Now, the suggestion is that it's actually this woman. This was a copy being sent to Primrose Boyd, who, along with Patience Gray, wrote this lovely Place du Jour. It's a Penguin handbook, beautifully illustrated by David Gentleman. It's just gorgeous. It's the right year. This one was 1957, and it's just sort of ties in with it. So it almost certainly is the same person, and this book was sent to her at Christmas. So we'll have a look. It's in quite a delicate mailing envelope, so I'll just take this off and delicately open it here as carefully as I can. It's a little bit fiddly. There we are. Right, so it's actually, there's the mailer, it's actually a copy of Private Angelo by Eric Linklater. In all honesty, this is quite a common Alan Lane Christmas book. This one turns out a fair bit, but this particular one with the author's addressed to that author, I think is beautiful. Once again, it comes with a Christmas card. Alan Lane, 1958, Christmas 57, New Year 58. And then it says inside, Private Angelo, 2,000 copies privately printed of this one. Beautiful end papers, which look like David Gentleman again, in actual fact, which would also tie in with the handbook. Very, very thin paper on this particular one. I can't get the next page. I think it doesn't give any other printing information. There we are. Yeah, no other information. I'm sure that in the end papers it is David Gentleman. It just looks like the style, doesn't it? Yeah, in fact, look, there we are. Look, there's his signature. So our hunch was correct. So there we are. So that's Private Angelo, anyway, one of the very, very beautiful Alan Lane Christmas books. Nice to be complete with the card, which it is. Extra special with the it being a copy sent to a Penguin author of the time, Mrs. Boyd there, yeah, Primrose Boyd. So there we are. So that's a really nice one. That's not actually been stuck down. They just sort of loosely tucked it in like that. So there we are. But yeah, beautiful, beautiful. Now, apart from that, so that's a few little rarities there. We have got some slightly more common books, and then some, well, rare ones again. But we'll have a look through just a few odd pelicans. So little did I know, because I bought 2 massive Penguin collections in the last month, that there was going to be 2 huge boxes of pelicans in there with early ones. But I needed about 10, and on Tim's latest and final catalogue, he had about, I don't know, 50 pelicans listed, and some of the ones I needed. So this is one of them. Either I needed them completely, because I needed about 8 for have the first 600, and or my copies were really low grade and I was looking to get better copies. So these weren't too bad, and or they filled the gap. So I was pleased to get these. So they all look so far very, very clean, which is what you want with pelicans. They're not really mega collectible or worth any sort of money really, but they are a very important part of the Penguin story, of course, so that's why I collect them. This one's a little bit more low grade. It's all right. As I said, one I haven't got, so that's all that matters. 1940, a little bit grubby, that one. And this is a service edition of the Odyssey, services edition number 18. There may well be another copy of this in one of the big collections that I bought. I have found 2 services editions, and I brought those in just to compare against my own copies, since I'm going to be going through my services editions and also my my Forces book club. Now this one can, in actual fact, benefit from a tiny little bit of glue there. So I'm going to just grab my little screwdriver here, and I'm going to just try and squeeze a little bit of glue into there. Now I haven't used this glue in a couple of weeks, so I've no idea if it's going to flow out quickly or not. In actual fact, it did. So we'll just seal that one up, and that will be absolutely fine once that dries using my bookbinder's glue. There we are. And as I said, I've got a couple more of those, which I shall dig out in just a sec, which came in the recent collection, because I'm going to be going through all my services editions and Forces book clubs to get them looking spick and span. Right, we'll just give these 4 books, or 5 books even, the brush here. Yep, they were a little bit dusty. We soon sorted them out. Okay then, so something a little bit different. This is a 1970s Van der Valk box set by Nicholas Freeling, and although I've not seen this, I'm guessing this was the 70s TV show, wasn't it? Now, what was that actor's name? Cover design by Robert Harmon, photograph by Peter Berardieu, photograph of Barry Foster. Okay, Barry Foster, the original Van der Valk, not the modern series. Now, on the whole, these are very, very nice. It's just that one there with a bit of a crease on, but the rest of them are, as is quite common with books from a box set, they tend to survive in excellent condition, which is always good in my book. So I don't think there's going to be any marks inside these now. These are. It looked really good when I sort of saw this one. This was another one off eBay. I do get the odd box set come my way, and got to admit, I really enjoy collecting them. It's a bit weird. There's some really nice 70s ones. There's 3 or 4 different John Wyndham ones, and I'd like all of them really, and at least one particularly nice black covered George Orwell that I'd very much like as well, but it's a little pricey at the moment. Anyway, the books are fine, but the box set itself is dusty. So I'm going to put some Mr. Sheen on, and we're actually going to give that a bit of a polish just to get the marks off it. It was particularly bad on the top, which I guess isn't natural because it's picked up the wood. The dust rather. The spine's okay, the bottom's all right. Generally all right. Yeah, that's quite a nice little set, that one. I think that's faded ever so slightly by the look of it, but he's all right. He's all right. Now, because I came out quite early in Tim's last catalogue, it meant that I was able to get some Forces book club titles. So I ended up getting about, well, I don't know how many of him. It was quite a few. And I've had one so far from the main collection. So we'll just give these the once over. So that was from Tim. Oh, and this was the one that came from the recent Penguin Barn find, which I was really pleased about, because once again, it was one I didn't have. Scandinavian short stories. Yeah, from month number 9. So we'll do this one first of all. Obviously, these are ever so delicate. They really, really are. So I'm going to clean these and then I'm going to bag them. Because they're so delicate, I want them to be protected. And that has got a little 10p there. Look at that. There we are. I don't think we're going to be able to do any better than that. I don't think it's going to be one I'm going to be rushing to read. Scandinavian short stories, as much as I like a short story. There we are, look, published in the Forces Book Club, June 1943. There we are. So very, very scarce, but we'll work our way through these. Some are definitely going to be better than others, but they're just so delicate. I don't. Since they've come out of the box from Tim, I've barely handled them because I'm just so worried about damaging them. So I want to get these into paperback bags quite swiftly, as soon as we've been through them, really. And I'm even loath to do much work with regards tidying them up, simply because they are so very delicate. But there's no marks inside that one. Now, a lot of Tim's latest catalogue came from the Eric Gadd collection. Eric Gadd was a noted vintage paperback collector, particularly an expert in 1930s books, and obviously Tim collects these himself, so I believe Eric had a full set of all the Penguin Forces book club and doubles, so these would have been Tim's downgrades, I suppose, but even so, still very, very nice. That is beautiful. So I count myself particularly lucky that I was able to get so many. I've got a couple of services editions. These ones also came in my recent barn find, these two. And I wanted to get these clean. Since I'm going to be at the same place where I keep my Forces book club, I wanted just to compare these services editions as well. And this one isn't bad. There's coming away a tiny bit at the bottom of the spine there, which I think will benefit from a tiny bit of glue in there. And the glue's now playing hard to get because we have used it once today. Is it going to come out? There we are. I had to give it a really, really stiff squeeze there. There we are. That will just keep that as nice as possible. It's a little bit grubby on the covers, just a little bit, nothing too serious. I suspect the one I've got is pretty similar condition, in all honesty. Once again, the pink of the travel, the cerise rather, I should say, is very, very susceptible to fading. But there we are. That's services edition number 12. This is another services edition, but harder to find. So it's number 500, but you can only see it's a services edition when you look at the copyright information, and it's got it in there. That extra line there, that's literally the only difference from what I know. Once again, I've got both of these, but I wanted to compare them, and then I've at least got a couple of services editions spare to put into my my Penguin swaps. Now, by the time you watch this, I would have been well on the way, and I've probably got the first 1,000 spares all sorted now from the crime collection and the barn find. So if there is anything that you particularly want, I am inviting wants lists now. So send them on through to julesburt@gmail.com, and I'll do my best to work through those as they come my way. There we are. Let's just do one more, which is a great one, While Rome Burns. This one's a little bit more worn, but to be honest, I'll be happy to just with an example is absolutely fine. I love that. They're old Royal Navy War Library. Quite a common stamp for that particular one. Potentially this was on a boat or something like that. There's a chance. There we are. So the bottom of the spine here is quite rough and worn. I feel we would do well by popping a tiny bit of glue in there just to keep that from detaching anymore. There we are. Now I suspect at the top that's actually already been glued at some point, has it? No, it hasn't, look. So once again, a little blob of glue in there is probably going to do wonders to keep it in one piece. And then once we've delicately brushed the edges, we'll get these bagged up. There we are. I said the glue I use is proper bookbinder's glue. It's very, very good, and it dries completely clear. So don't worry about any white marks, because I know it won't leave it. It's designed for books, basically. So let's get those together, and I'm going to give them a brush. Obviously, we have to be careful with these. Top edges are always the worst. there we are. So I don't think we can do any better than that. The only thing I can see is the one that I got from the barn find. It's got a little bit of the spine there, which is just poking out. I just think it would be better without that on there. Come on, there we are. Just a bit of the binding there. So that's those, and very nice they are too. Right, we have more. So this one is quite a common Forces book club, as Forces book clubs go. I must have seen a few copies of these, so I wasn't overly worried too much about getting it, but I'm still happy to have one, you know. Look at that, £3.50. I'm still very, very pleased to have it because it's one I didn't have. I don't know exactly how many Forces book clubs I've got now out of the 120 that were published. I suspect I'm almost at about 50, I think now. But obviously, you know, that big collection I bought recently, the barn find, I mean, 4,000 books, and there was, so far at least, only one Forces book club in there. It just shows how genuinely scarce they are. And any copies that you come across are going to be, you know, rarities. Simple as that, really. But that's the way it goes. That's why they're rare, and that's why some of the like the crime titles and that, they just fetch incredible money, really. You know, more than I'm really willing to pay for one of these, because I don't think there's anyone, probably Tim himself, now that he's had the Eric Gadd collection. Tim has probably got the set now, and I know there's at least one or two collectors pretty close. They must have almost all 120, but I don't know that for sure, and I'm guessing Tim's got them all now. I'd be amazed if he didn't have them all. So this is very, very rough, and not really sure what we can do with it. Certainly I think I can pop a little bit of glue in there, and a little bit in there. That's the other side. So I'm going to try and get some glue in here. I can just squeeze it in like that. There we are. With what spine is left. There we are. Okay, and then yeah, it is sadly missing it. I'm going to leave that bit there, but that bit there I think we ought to glue back down. And obviously on a normal book we wouldn't bother doing this. It just wouldn't be worth it. But on a book where there is potentially just, you know, less than 100 copies in existence, maybe less than that, who knows, on some of these books, then evidently it's worth doing everything we can to preserve them. But I don't think there's much else we can do. I don't think this is a particularly valuable or sought after one, but that doesn't matter. It's a rare artifact which needs to be, you know, preserved as best we can, and we'll just leave it at that. And too delicate to read. A Mathematician's Delight. This one's a little bit more robust for month number 7. I have got examples from all the different months now, which is at least something, because there was a couple of months I didn't have anything from. So at least I've got something from them all now, and there's nothing we can really do with that one, so that's all right. It just needs a brush. See, there's lots of Penguin prisoner of war books, and there was a big selection of those in Tim's list, but sadly I didn't bother with them because I've got some and I love them. I think they're fantastic, but at the same time, you know, you've got to draw the line somewhere. So I was happy to do what I did, really, you know. And as I said, I got most of what I ordered, which is really good. Somebody has ended up with a green Ariel, another green Ariel. So there was the old Eric Gadd one, of course. So he was one of 7 people. There's 7 copies in existence, and he owned one of them. So not sure who's got it, who won it from Tim's catalogue, his latest catalogue, but whoever got it for £300, which I think was unbelievably cheap, in all honesty, for a book that there's only 7 copies known to exist. I would have put it nearer to 2,000 to 3,000 personally. But there you go, that's just me. And we're not done yet, we still have some more. So as I said, I did do very well with these, because I didn't really want a lot else from Tim's catalogue. You've seen what I've ordered here, and I didn't order much regular stuff because I didn't need it. I already had it, you know, so this was great. It's going to be a big shame that Tim is no longer going to be dealing, but I understand it can't go on forever, you know, so. This is another nice one here. An ABC of the Pacific. Some very faint marks here. That's lovely, that one. That's really bright, isn't it? That is a beauty, that one. Right, let's give these a little brush. A careful little brush. We'll pop that one there. So I've put a couple of robust ones either end. Lots of dust coming off these, as you can see. Lovely, but they're looking very, very nice indeed. Just have a little break because I've got more to do, but something a little bit more unusual now. So if you saw my recent video on book hunting in Frome, you may have seen that I came across this, which was Life in an English Village, and it's a rebound one of my all-time favourite King Penguin book, the one by Edward Baldwin. There we are, the Frome Bookshop, that's where I got this one from. They're quite a collection of King Penguin books. There we are, lovely Baldwin illustrations. Just terrific. Really, really nice. Very, very nice indeed. Just the business. A beautiful, beautiful book. So highly recommended and very unusual. This was obviously privately bound. So it's a rare variation, basically. It's not published by Penguin in this format, but I thought it had been done particularly well with the spine and that, so I thought I'll have that as a little treat. And also considering it is my all-time favourite King Penguin book, so I was more than happy to have that one. So it's very nice. There's something a little bit different there. Right, now we have got just a handful more paperbacks, and amazingly it is 5 more. Don't kill me, but 5 more Forces Book Club titles. So I did say I did pretty well, and got to admit I'm bowled over really by how lucky I got. But here we are, the Cherry Tree. So it certainly has expanded my collection quite a bit. That's got some invisible tape inside, but I'm not going to let that get me down. Another great one, also in pretty nice condition, considering what it is. Yep, someone's put 100 in there, obviously, like, because it was number 99 and 100, wasn't it? The Worst Journey in the World, volumes 1 and 2. So they put its corresponding main series number in there as well. But that's fine. What happened in history? But yeah, I'm filming this one a little bit before I do my my regular pickups, because I think there will be some more pickups to come. But I'm just going to do this a little bit now, because I do need the books to be out the way, basically, before I crack on with some other stuff. And the studio, as you can imagine, is rammed with books. You just wouldn't believe it if you saw it. There we are. A couple more. Yeah, nothing to do on that. And then my last one, Diary of World Affairs. Special 116. There we are. Now we have got something else to do once we've given these a brush, which is a little bit more unusual. And what I'm going to do with this particular video, I'm going to be filming it over a few weeks as I do bits and pieces, as they come to me from the recent collections. And the stuff that I'm keeping myself, I'm going to clean up, and I shall show you what I'll be keeping from these two big collections, you know. But don't forget, if you enjoy cleaning videos and this sort of stuff, I do have a dedicated channel where I clean lots of books up, so go and have a little look over there and you'll find many, over 200 in fact, dedicated cleaning videos. Right, so that's all them done. I think I'm going to get them bagged up next. Right, so we shall work in reverse order. We'll get them all in bags first, and then we'll take them down. Now, I am very low on paperback bags. However, I have a couple of thousand coming from overseas, which are going to be used for new books that have come my way. Plus, of course, a lot of the spares. You know, I need to get those bagged up before the Penguin Collectors Show, the rarities and that. So I have many on the way, but I've got just enough to keep me out of mischief right now. And they are very, very good, particularly good to put your fragile books in, and the stuff which you know just can't afford to be knocked. So, you know, valuable wartime crime, and of course these very, very delicate Forces Book Club editions. That's remarkably thick for a Forces Book Club, that actually. Must be one of the biggest ones. Most of them, they chose thin books, you know, because paper was at such a premium. Now, I'm not going to bother doing life in an English village. No point doing that. Or any of the other bits that we've got here just now. We will just do these other Forces Book Club titles. As it happens, I keep my Forces Book Club titles on my Beaver and Tapley Penguin bookcase, and that now has not got anything like enough room for all of these. So I'm going to have to take something off there, and they're going to have to be relegated somewhere else. So I'm not sure. I've got a few, like I've got like the Penguin music magazines and things like that, the film review. I think they're going to have to come off because the old Forces Book Clubs, well, they take a little bit more priority, don't they? Here's that this is the most delicate one of all, wasn't it, really, this Beyond the Microscope. There we are. This is very, very nice. It's just incredible, really. I think I've got every version of ABC of the Pacific. I've got an American one, I've got an Australian one, I've got the British Penguin special, I've got the Forces Book Club, and I think I've got a Prisoner of War edition of it as well. So that must be every version. So you can test me on my ABC of the Pacific if you like. And there's more. This was another quite delicate one, While Rome Burns. Okay. Major Barbara Services Edition. very obviously Services Edition, boldly on the front there. And the last couple of Forces book clubs. There we are. Right. So we'll I'll get those taped down. I won't bother showing that, but I'll show you them once they've been taped down. And they should look really, really nice. And then the next thing we've got in this first session of recent pickups is a really interesting Alan Lane Penguin Press book, which I think has to be seen to be believed. Okay, so here they all are, bagged up and looking lovely. And they really do, A, protect the books, and B, they really set them off, these bags. And I think they're fantastic. And I've got all my very rarest Penguin books bagged up now, because they just look fantastic. So I did a little tot up, and I've actually got a third. I've got 40 out of the 120 that were published. So I'm well on my way. I've never really focused on them. When they've turned up, I've put my hat in the ring, as it were, but to get a few. But I've never concentrated on trying to get the Forces book club. So whether that will change now, well, we'll see. We shall see. Certainly I need a few more big collections to come my way before I can really break the back of them. But I'm very pleased with what I've got, because at least I've got at least one from each of the different months. Anyway, one more thing to show you in this particular segment, which is an Alan Lane book. So let's get that one now. Now I've moved the camera right out because this is enormous. Look at this. Bibliopolar, Siegfried Tobert. And it's in a slipcase, a bit like a folio thing, book, and it's a little bit dusty. It has a price on the side here, 2 volumes, £21, which I'm going to rub out. Now this particular book is the very last thing that I had to clean up from the huge Penguin collection that I got last year. It was part of that, and I had it here in the studio, and I've actually got somewhere where I can stick it now in the house. So I thought, well, we better get it looked at. Now it's not mint by any means, but I believe this is reasonably scarce. So let us have a look at volume 1 first, which is the much thinner one. It's cloth bound. I mean, it does feel like a folio book, doesn't it? And well, let me get in a little bit closer so you can have a look at the content here. So once again, it's got the 2 volumes for 21 in the inside here. I have looked this one up on eBay, and I have seen copies for about £50. So maybe that's the current going rate for it in 2025. Should you wish to track one down after having a look through this one. But printing wise, I think that's probably the most interesting bit. So it's Alan Lane, the Penguin Press. So it was one done under Alan Lane's personal imprint. English translation, Frederick Platt. Copyright 1966, so it's really early for Alan Lane. And there we are. And as you see, it's in French and English, as far as I know. Yeah, French down one side, English down one side, French down the other. It's basically what we've got, a bit like some Taschen books, art books are like that. So you got, and it's about printing, so like early documents on the invention of printing in Asia and Europe. And it's not an Alan Lane Christmas book, it's just, a nicely, beautifully designed book, as you can see. And the actual text, I guess this is letterpress, you can actually feel it it's risen off the page, if that makes sense. So here's the introduction. And you could imagine why Alan Lane wanted this one printed, because it's such a lavish production. And I've got to admit, I do love books on sort of the history of printing. It's a subject which really does interest me. So we won't go through the whole thing because there's a lot of it, as you can see. But that's in the shorter volume 1, which is only like 100 pages. And as you saw, there was a second volume, also cloth bound, beautiful cloth on it, which is enormous. Now this one has got a little bit of dirt and rubbing on it. I don't know whether being cloth we can do anything about that. Well, in actual fact, it did take it off a little bit. A little bit of wear, nothing too serious. Let's have a look in this volume then. So what's this? That is catalogue number 100, Cheltenham Books. So it's just a little something from a dealer's catalogue. Maybe the person who originally sold this book. Here we are. Look at this, the colour things inserted into it. That's beautiful, isn't it? It says, I think it's different examples of printing techniques, is from what I understand. It would have been expensive when this one came out and was first published, but this is a beautiful book. Really, really nice. So as I said, I've looked it up, and copies on places like eBay, there's not many, but there was like 1 or 2 copies, and they were around £50 for the set in a slipcase. So if this is the sort of thing you might be interested in, which we'll go back to much further on, then, well, you know what to look for, don't you? And it is, in effect, it's pre-ISBN Penguin related, because it's Allen Lane, the Penguin Press, which I don't collect as an imprint, but I have got a handful of books that were published early on in Allen Lane. Brilliant. It's really, really nice, isn't it? So you've got the illustration there, and you've got the English and French, and French. It's English and French. There we are. So something you may not have even been aware of, but lovely. Very, very nice indeed. That a beautiful book. These are gorgeous, aren't they? I love it. I love it. Yes, so that will be finding a space. Thankfully, I have actually got a space for that in my office. Brilliant. So there we go. So that's it for this particular section, but there's more to come as the month goes on. Right. Well, it's been, I would say, almost 2 months since I filmed that last segment. Those books came in. I wanted to get them cleaned and out of the way and popped into my collection. Since then, I've had the Penguin Collectors Show, I've had the Zardoz Book Fair, I've done a visit to Dorset Bob, I've been to Exeter, so I have done a little bit more picking up of some new books in my collection. So I'm going to do, basically, get me bang up to date before the winter sort of period starts, where I've got another visit to Dorset Bob. I'm off to the London Book Fair, which should be fantastic in November, and also, I'm hoping to get a trip into Zardoz before the end of the year, so that's really nice. It was a Badger Western that I didn't have. Nothing to do on that one. So yeah, I thought, well, I better clear this lot here, and that's exactly what I'm doing. Here is another nice Badger file copy from Dorset Bob. This is a Lariat Western. And some of these Dorset Bob actually had in quantity, like 3, 4, 5 copies, and these are just ones I didn't have, so at like £3 a pop I was going to pick them up, which is about what they cost. These about £3 each. These are really nice. These are Boardman books, and Boardman published a lot of crime, but they did a smattering of science fiction, and the science fiction titles are really nice, and I'd like to get a few more of them if I could. There's not loads of them, but there are a few. They do vary in price. Slightly miscut that. They do vary in price online. But there's a few there. Includes What Mad Universe. That's the only science fiction one there. They are, I would say, predominantly crime or thriller. Generally, I believe these are 1950s books. Late 1950s. This one says 1954, in actual fact. And that's Boardman number 154. Now, I've got at least one other Boardman. I've got the Big Eye in Boardman, and we'll just do a little batch of these as we go along, I think. Yeah, I've got the Big Eye in Boardman. And as you saw, I've now got the Pyramid edition of it as well. It's a great book. But yeah,
I definitely like to get some more of those because they're really nice. This is an odd panther that I didn't have. I think this was from the Zardos book fair, I think. Right, now this next run I got off Dorset Bob. Now it's the run of Penguin Modern Stories. There's 12 in total. I have already got volume 1, and this one's actually spine faded, but it's creeps into the numerical numbering 3018. Cover design by David Pelham. He didn't really have a lot to do, did he? He does them in different primary colours with the number. So it wasn't like he had his work cut out. I would imagine that these are all pretty nice, and I just need to go through them, make sure there's no notes inside, and then give them a brush. I try and do them in order. So number 3 is this one. So slightly beyond my sort of collecting period with Penguin. However, I like short stories, and they do sort of just overlap from the period that I'm collecting, so I didn't mind it. And Dorset Bob, I think, gave me these for £20 for the set of 12, which I didn't think was too bad. A couple of quid a book. Yep, number 5. They have all, in a lot, well, most of them have got some fading to the spine, but I'm not too worried about that because ultimately the books are really clean, which is good news. But yeah, I thought with everything I've got coming up, I've got a big trip to Newcastle where I'll be doing quite a bit of book shopping in second-hand bookshops, places I've not been to before as well. So I'm hoping that will result in me finding books, that I've not seen before. In which case I will have some more pickups to do before the end of the year. So it's number 9, here's number 10. Yeah, these are all really fine, to be honest. Not a mark on any of these, but that's typical of Dorset Bob, isn't it? His stock is always tip-top shape. And the last one is this one, number 12. I don't know if it went beyond that. But there we are. So we just give these a brush. Obviously, I'm still completely bogged down with sorting out and cleaning up books from the collections I bought this year. And although I've broken the back of the main series Penguins 1 to 1000 and some of the smaller series, I've still got an awful lot to do, so I need to crack on with that, really. Right, DAW books. Well, we've got a few DAW here. Let's go through these. I think I picked up a few from Dorset Bob. They weren't anything mega rare or special, but they were at least copies, which will do me, ones I haven't got. Now, you may remember there was the recent Show Us Your DAWs video, which was going across multiple booktube channels, and I was involved in that. And during that video, I said I've actually got two DAW books to give away, and I shall be doing this video. So I won't be doing it today. I've got to get the names added to a little roulette wheel, as it were, a lucky dip wheel, and then I shall insert that footage. And then if it's your name, you'll just need to give me a shout if you are the lucky winner of those 2 DAW books. So I've got a few. So I'll pull the rest of the DAW while I'm here. Once again, I'm not having to do loads of work, am I? Now, I got 2 DAW books from my friend Steve, the Outlaw Bookseller. So these are Michael Moorcock DAWs, and they're absolutely beautiful. Now, this one's a reprint because it's got the 1 in front of it, and that one's an original. I'll take them out of the bags. But these were a gift from my friend Steve, because he's now got the British editions for these Moorcocks. He's a huge Moorcock collector, and yeah, he did say these were really nice condition, and he wasn't wrong. Really nice white pages on those. Not too worried if it's a first or not, but that one actually is. And that is beautiful, isn't it? Very, very nice. And I can spot, I've just spotted another door right at the bottom of the pile here. So let me just dig that one out, just so we've done all the door. Here we are. David J. Legg. Bright pinky cover there. Lovely. Right, well, let's give those a brush now. So I've actually picked up a few doors this year, and I've not done too badly. I'd say I've probably added about 30 to my door collection, maybe slightly more, but I reckon about 30 this year, which isn't bad, you know. I mean, was there 580 numbered ones? I have got over half of them now, so I'm well on the way, but they're not my main obsession. Right, I picked this one up. Now, this is a British gold medal. It's one that I've already got, and I would say it's common, but look at the condition of it. It was absolutely beautiful, so I didn't want to leave this one behind. I forget, I've lost track, unfortunately, of where I picked this one up, but it wasn't dear. It's got £3 inside. I mean, even if I paid £3 for it, I've done very well, but I don't think I did. I remember where it was. It was at Puddletown, where the books were. Well, I picked up a load of paperbacks at about £1 or £2. Some slightly more collectible ones were £2 or £3, but even so, even though that's, you know, really quite common, it was worth the money. So yeah, I forgot all about Puddletown, where they had some great books. This was an unusual one. These are the sorts of books you don't generally come across very often. This is published during the war, to a bit patriotic, help the RAF's morale. When times were rough, epics of the RAF. Yes, this is Cherry Tree, a Cherry Tree War special. So Cherry Tree were the publisher, and like a lot of publishers around that time, they were doing war-related books, very much like the Penguin specials. Death of a Peer. This is a Collins White Circle, so these hardly ever turn up in the UK. It's number 117. It's not in particularly great shape, this one, but I don't believe it was dear. I think it was like, you know, £1 again or something. This is actually one of the Canadian ones. Yep, the Canadian White Circle, of which I've got maybe a dozen or so. So I'm quite pleased with that. This was a much more recent Agatha Christie. This was, who's the cover artist who takes over from Tom Adams? Is it Martin? I seem to think he's called Martin Edwards, but I can't remember for sure. He's still around, but he did a whole range of the Christies after the Tom Adams ones were dropped, basically. And once again, this was one which was like just £1 or something like that. It does, however, once I brushed it, this particular one is going to need a polish. So I'll pop that to one side. And a J.M. Marsh here, one that I didn't have. So again, this was in Puddletown. I think it had £2 inside, which is absolutely fine for this. The Puddletown bookshop is excellent, but they are a real antiquarian rather than anything else. 1960, that's all right. It's another nice one. I was really pleased to see this. It's it's a SF anthology with Harlan Ellison as the top bill. It's an Avon. Great publisher, Avon. I'd love some of their 40s stuff. I've got a bit of it, obviously, but they did so much great stuff. I love the design of their covers. Lots of airbrushed. bits and pieces. Yes, but hard to collect in Britain because we just don't see them over here that often, you know. Some of it you see, there's the genre stuff, but not a lot of it. Anyway, that one's all right. That will also need a polish. Here's another sort of wartime one. It's a Hutchinson that I didn't have. The Year in Story and Picture. Another one. They did so many of these sorts of things. It's got a little August, look, Hitler looking like an ape. From 1938. And look. Oh, there we are. Look. So, a little bit of gluing is going to be required. That's okay. I have my glue, although I haven't used it in absolutely ages, so it might take a bit of getting used to, or a bit of action just to get it started again. Court News Agency. We'll have a look through the rest of the book. Yeah, it's quite fragile, so I say the sooner we get this one rebound, the better, really. Not that it's fallen to bits, but even so, I suspect is quite scarce, you know. So here are the highlights of 1938, is what it says. So, let's see if this glue comes to life. Oh, there we are. Yeah, we're not too bad. We need to be, because we're doing the entire spine, we don't want to be stingy with the glue here. We want to give it a good splash. That's probably enough. Quite heavy, I guess it's because of all the photographs. Yeah, so a bit of a fragile book, that one, but one I've never seen. And I look out for unusual Hutchinson books because they publish so much, and so much of it is undocumented, you know. It's just not out there. There aren't like really definitive lists of it all. It just doesn't exist. I think it's hard to identify first editions, which puts some people off. And they just did so much. That's the biggest issue. So I just, when an unusual one comes along like that, I'm generally quite keen to grab it, really. Let's give these a brush as well while we're here. I don't particularly like brushing in the studio, but little bits like this is okay. And the weather's not great outside, so make the most of it. Now, these two here, as I said, I'm going to give them a polish at the end. So they have to stay to one side, which is fine. Oh, we're getting through it okay. Right, a panther, the crest of the wave, a fox. So again, this is a panther I've never seen before. And I tell you what, Panther is a publisher that's a lot harder to collect than you might think. The best-selling books, the science fiction, the crime, turn up quite a bit, but something like that, a little bit niche, much harder to find. But there you go. But that one's all right. Another panther, since we're in the zone, is this one, which is for the Forbidding Land. I've got the original artwork to this one, so I'm after a few copies. I'm after a really nice one, so I can strip the cover off, and I'm going to get it framed with the original artwork. Kimpton was the artist. I think it's a great cover, really full of action. But the book itself is quite scarce. So I shall keep looking, and hopefully I'll find a really nice one eventually. But for now, at least I've got a copy of the book which I do own the artwork for, which I got at London Paperback Show a year or so ago. Still no date yet announced for the next London Paperback Show. I'm hoping it's not when I'm away. Next year in May. I've got a bit of time away, but we'll just have to play that by ear. There we are. That's okay. Right, a corgi, Mark of Shame. This is one I picked up at the Zardoz show, one I haven't got. There's many a corgi that I've not got. 1960, this one. That's not the £4 I'd suspect then. This must have come from Puddletown rather than Zardoz. Right, this is the New English Library Master SF series. This one's got a cut down the bottom, but generally it's above average. This is a pretty tough series to get in nice condition. And this one wasn't too bad at all, which is why I grabbed him. Very poor quality paper on these, I've got to say. They're not that nice. But a good fun series, nonetheless. Great jacket on it. Doesn't say who the artist was on that. But once again, that one's also going to need a bit of a polish. Got a bit of tape marks on the back. This was a Panther crime band. These don't seem to be turning up anything like they used to. Typical since I've started collecting them. And at 150, once again, I wasn't really going to leave it behind. It's too good a book for that. Yeah, not too bad condition for that one. It's all right. Another Panther. Panther Horror, look. William Hope Hodgson. Lovely, that one. Now this one, I think the dealer had £10 on it. But I did get it for, I think, about £7.50. So I thought that was worth it for this one. It's 1972. It's the first. Quite scarce, I would venture, this one. Yes, I've got some quite interesting stuff and visits planned for Newcastle, including going to a place called Barter Books, which is apparently one of the biggest second-hand bookshops in the UK. It's a converted railway station, so that should be fun. An odd pan here, a pan major. Flowers of the Forest. There's a tiny nick at the bottom of the spine. It's a bit foxed, but it's one I haven't got. So I'm not too worried about that. But it is a tiny bit foxed. So we can get a little drop on the end here. There we are, probably too much. But hopefully enough just to put the corner back. Okay. Right, another penguin I got in Puddletown. I thought this was a particularly nice copy of 741. And Raymond Chandler is always sought after in Penguin. There was only £3 on it, which is a great price for this. I'm going to check it against the one in my own collection. And I'll obviously move the lower grade one on. But the Raymond Chandler in the more recent collections, a lot of it's already sold. It went quite quickly. So yes, I was very pleased to get this one for £3. Very nice indeed, that. There we are, and I think it's a first thus. So it's the first time that that particular selection of stories was ever put together in one, which is cool. This is an upgrade. This is in Puddletown again. I have already got this one, but not in this nice condition. So it's an upgrade to my existing copy. So again, a very good price. I thought £3 before discount. Yeah, that's fine. Another Boardman. I have had this one before in similar sort of condition. I would like to find a better one, but this one was dirt cheap, so it's going to act as a filler for now. Best of New Worlds. I would like to get a better copy of that one, to be honest. It's another Boardman SF. These two were picked up at the Penguin Collectors Show. A reprint of The Invisible Man, one of the editions I didn't have. This is the... Which printing is this then? This is the 8th Penguin impression from 1946. This is the one which is uniform when they printed 10 books to make him a million seller. So that's what this particular one is, this 8th one. This one I didn't have, so that's why I've got this one. So that's really good. Yet another edition of The Invisible Man I didn't have. And these are the black covered George Orwells. I really like this this period. I'm going to give this one a polish, but this is the one for Animal Farm, which I didn't have either. Right, just backtracking slightly because I had to reset the camera. So this next one here is Villain, which is the movie tie-in. Now, this book is the second printing, but the first is the movie tie-in. The first came out as The Burden of Proof. So that's the original Pam book, and this is the second printing, which is the movie time from the year afterwards. So, yeah, Richard Burton, Ian McShane, and I believe Jill St. John. Quite a good little British sort of gangster movie, that one. Brian Lumley, great author. Yeah, this one had a little, just a little, well, not a compliment slip, but basically a review slip inside. So it's unread from publication. It's really nice, great series, that 5 in the set, and then they did a follow-up set of 3, which is another one which I picked up in pretty nice condition as well. So trying to find these in tip-top shape is difficult, so when I see them I pick them up basically, because I'd like to get a really nice set of these, because they were so good. I think I'm gonna do a bit of brushing before we do the last little lot. I knew Brian quite well. He only lived up the road from me in Torquay, and a real shame when he passed away. I was hoping to get him on the channel at some point, but sadly didn't get the chance. Good. A couple of corgis, which is always good. Bit dusty. Ordinarily I would be doing this outside, but the weather being what it is, it's not possible today. There we are, that's good. Right, but there's still more. Not loads more, but we've got a little bit more to do still. Right, The Reluctant Legionnaire. So this one is got a cover by Taylor. And I do own the cover rough for this, not the original jacket, but Taylor's rough, which is like his mock-up, and it changes quite a bit from the finished one. Once again, a tough pan to find. A bit like my Forbidding Land. This one's also quite tough, so I'm after a decent one. I have got a copy, but that one's slightly better. This was bargain of the day at the Zardoz book fair, so this was outside with all his Star Trek books, and it's quite a tricky one to find. This Andrew J. Robinson, he played Garak in Deep Space Nine. There he is on the front, but he also wrote by far the most substantial and highly regarded of all the Deep Space Nine books. This one I literally picked up to trade on. I've got a copy of this signed by Andrew Robinson, and I've also met him, and he's a really, really nice guy. First time I ever saw him, of course, he played Scorpio in the first Dirty Harry movie in the early 1970s. But for the run of Deep Space Nine, he played Garak, and he played it very well indeed. So anyway, that one's really nice. I'm going to give it a polish as well, because that one's going to be sold. I forgot I had one more Corgi. This one did come from Dorset Bob's friend at the Zardoz Book Fair. It's not perfect, but it is an early one. 1955. Yeah, I'm not sure if I did the Legionnaire there. Do those as we go along. Now, I did also pick up one odd albatross from the Zardoz Fair. It's a crime one, but a crime one in a wrapper. So I was really pleased to get that. So we take the wrapper off. All the albatross crime are worth picking up. Published in conjunction with the Collins Crime Club. This is the Albatross Crime Club. And underneath, the book's really quite sharp. Beautiful books to read. Really, really nice. Just the faintest hint of an old price there somewhere. So we just get rid of that. There we are. Yeah. Not every day you get albatrosses. I have had a count, and I've got approximately a third of all albatross that were published. They did about 450, and I've got 150, or thereabouts, something like that, give or take. Different ones. Some I've had in doubles, some I think I've got are quite rare. I've got many in dust wrappers, so I do count myself quite lucky with albatross. This was also picked up at the Zardoz Fair. This was outside. It was in the £2 box. This one also just needs a good polish in a minute, which we shall do. So I just do these edges now. Lovely. Right, this one I picked up in Exeter. Yeah, Cancer Research in Exeter, £1.50. So I'm really hopeful that I can get the stickers off. It's just a much more modern edition of the Time Machine from Penguin Classics. Yeah, these have come off. Got a nice glossy cover, so it makes it quite easy to get the covers off. Got a new introduction, which I shall have a look at. I mean, it was £1.50 to me, £8 to buy in a bookshop. They had 3 inside. I said, well, you saw the sticker there. It was £1.50. I didn't think that was bad at all. It's not been read. I shall definitely have a read of the new introduction. And yeah, that's quite a nice book, that one. Doubt it needs much dusting, but we'll do it anyway. Right, an odd hardback. Unfortunately, I can't remember where I got it. I cannot remember where I got this one. Boards are a little on the rough side, I'm afraid to say. Looks like that's had some liquid damage, possibly at some point. Whack the camera there. Apologies. I think this is going to be one of those ones that you pick up to read rather than collect and put on your shelf as any sort of real collectible. But that's okay because I love SF anthologies. But I can't remember. I mean, I wouldn't have paid £4 for this. I probably would have paid like a pound or two, possibly, you know. But I just don't remember where I got it. That is because I've been so distracted with everything else going on. So hopefully you'll forgive me. All the muck. Right. Once we've done all of that, I'm sure it's going to be fine to read. Right. Faber and Faber, 24 Russell Square, 1955. There we are. And it did actually come with a wrapper, so let's be honest, it's not a complete waste of time. But yes, not my best purchase. That is a bit low grade. Right, okay, that's all the vintage paperbacks. Got a couple of other little bits to show you, and then we'll just give them those last few bits of polish. So I got this at the Zardoz show as well. This is a show card, which once again I'm going to polish it up in a minute, for a book called The VIPs, which was a movie with Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton. They were the stars. Had a few other quite famous people in it: Maggie Smith, Rod Taylor, Orson Welles, Margaret Rutherford. Pretty cool. It just needs a polish, and then obviously I'm going to need to try and find the book. And you can find the American edition really easily. You cannot find the British one. This one was given to me as a present by Dave Bretschke. Dave edits this magazine, The Occult Detective. I was up at the Innsmouth Literary Festival, and Dave passed me this one to read. I have been dipping in and out of it. I find it really interesting. So I will be reporting back once I finish this one, which is really cool. One other odd hardback. I doubt there'll be much for me to do. This one I bought off eBay. It's a porpoise book. It was bought from the Penguin chap, who had a few baby puffins up for grabs. The wrapper's inconsequential, really. He had some very reasonably priced baby puffins, of which I'm not too fussed about buying those or even collecting them. And he had this one porpoise book, and the opening bid was $5.99. I thought, well, I'll put a $5.99 bid in, and ended up being the only bidder, probably because it's very, very common. I mean, it must have had a huge print run, this one. But I didn't have a copy. I didn't have any porpoise books, so I have now. Yeah, not a great deal can be done with this one. There's a small bit of pencil in the corner there, 3 and 6. That's possibly the original price, but at least I can say I've got one now. It's a bit like the baby puffins. I don't want to pay big money for a book like that. I'm just, it's not like I want it to read or anything, but it is part of the Penguin story. And if you take that one out of the wrapper, that's actually not too bad at all. That's quite a presentable copy. A little bit missing from the top and bottom of the spine, but apart from that, that's absolutely fine. Obviously I'll keep the dust wrapper with it, but for $5.99 it was a way to get what is, a genuinely nice book, although much more common than you might think. But it is still part of the Penguin story, so it is sort of essential, really. And a bit like the Puffin picture books, I've never really gone out of my way to try and get them all or anything like that. But I'm glad that I got that one at such a good price, so thank you, Drew, for that. That was good news. And the very last book, I don't think is going to need much doing to it. It's the Amazona by Christos Akylos, and I was rather delighted to find out it had been signed, which was super cool. That was a bonus, and the book is pretty much brand new, so I don't think we need to do anything with this. Yeah, it's brilliant. Absolutely, it's perfect. There's nothing to do with that one at all. It's just a perfect book. So that's super cool. Right, so the last thing then is just to do a little bit of polishing. Okay, so We haven't got loads to do, but we've got a bit. And I collect Asimov in British first edition paperback. Now, obviously, there's a lot of them, but I had quite a bit in my various collections anyway. He wasn't all just published by one publisher, particularly when he was being published throughout the decades. So there's a real mixture. And ironically, these tail-end ones have proved harder to get than the earlier ones. I suspect because in a lot of cases they're on people's shelves. Also, I do really like to find them in tip-top shape when they're more recent. By that I mean like 80s upwards. They need to be pretty nice, you know. Else I'm not too interested. Yeah, very pleased to find this Star Trek book. It's a terrific read if you've never read it, and I'm amazed it's never been reprinted. Absolutely amazed, because it's so highly regarded by Star Trek fans in general. You know, they to this day rave about it. But I think Star Trek publishing is just not what it was. It's had its peak, a bit like the TV shows, and it's just not. There isn't the market for so many books. At one point, they were publishing 6 books a month. I know, because I was selling them in my shop. Just the little sort of vestiges of a barcode. There's a couple of little marks there, but generally speaking, it's still a pretty presentable copy, that one, so I think someone will be happy with that. This is a reasonably tough set to get. It's made a lot easier if you're not too fussed about which printings with this jacket, if you're just collecting the covers, rather than having a very specific printing, which is what I'm doing. I'm just, you know, that way lies ruin. Yes, good old New English Library. Their quality is awful, and they live up to their nickname, the New English Laboratory, because of the quality of the paper. This series, in fact, they've got beautiful jackets. They're just the actual books. It just, they sort of make your skin crawl. But there's not, you know, hundreds in the range, so there's not, you know, they are obtainable. And when they're cheap, I feel the need to pick them up, particularly since New English Library is going through a bit of a renaissance at the moment. And Justin Marriott is working on a book on the history of New English Library, which, as you can imagine, is going to be brilliant. There we are. Right. Almost there. Just a few of these needed that little bit of polish just to take off the surface dirt. Not many, just a few. I don't religiously clean every book like this, but certain ones do warrant it. I'm hoping this spine's going to clean up for me. It's nicotine. That's a bit horrible. Yes, I don't like books which have got nicotine on the spine. It's hard to get rid of. And it stains, it just stains. But we've not done too badly there, to be honest. On a glossy book, it usually lifts off all right, as it has in that case. But yeah, that's nicotine. Right, then the last little bit is just to do this here, the show card. And this would have just been like stood up in a shop window, you know, just to let people know the book was in. People might have seen it at the cinema, that sort of thing. Oh, there's a book. So quite light because it is cardboard, but hopefully we'll be getting the worst of any sort of surface muck off this. Yeah, look. There was more on it than was meeting the eye. What I'll probably do is pop this one into a very large magazine bag. I've got other show cards that I've done the same thing to, and it does protect them quite well. But I would very much like to try and find the book. Yeah, that was just muck that was sat on it. Amazing, eh? That's it, it's just a bit of cardboard. There we are. That does look cleaner. Brilliant. Well, look, the last thing I need to do now is, and I shall tack this on to the end of the video, is the draw to see who won the 2 DAW books from Show Us Your DAWs. So I shall slip that bit of content in now. So there we are. So if you were the lucky winner of the Show Us Your DAWs, just drop me an email at julesburt@gmail.com. I shall tag you on YouTube as well, so hopefully you get a little message to contact me, and I'll get those 2 DAW books off to you. And well done everyone who entered. Thanks for playing along. If you've enjoyed today's video, do please give it the thumbs up. Do please hit that subscribe button if you've not already for regular vintage paperback action, and I'll look forward to seeing you again very soon. Bye.